Hey guys, today I want to continue talking about the full mixer console setup that I've been building with Mutools Mux. I think I've got it to a point where it's all done. In this video I want to go over some of the final changes that I've made over the past week, as well as give you guys some audio examples where I actually compare a mix that I had finished using my typical workflow, and then I just put this mixer in and kind of used the exact same setup going through it to just kind of see the difference. It's not 100% complete for a few different reasons, but it gives you a great idea of the difference, and I'm real pleased with how it turned out. It reminds me a lot of the same kind of sounds I was getting back when I was using the Airwindows plugins and using the whole console emulation, as well as like the Waves console emulation, and SK Note also has one that kind of give the same kind of feel. So again, in this video, I'm going to go over some of the basic functions for those who haven't seen any of the other ones, show you how it's set up, and then go through some audio examples. So here we go. This is the full mixer, 12 channel. It also has an 8-channel bus that you can get to by clicking here. I've changed these a little bit to where it's easier as you scroll. You can always see your bus or your auxiliary. This is where your auxiliary effects are. So that's how you get to the buses. I was able to change where I can get these lights. I had them to where they were operating as mutes. I figured out a way to now where we can turn them on, and that's where it sends. So right now, these tracks are all zeroed out, and this is the way I will share the preset. It'll be completely zeroed out board. So you'll start from the beginning. If you want this track, that goes to bus 1, which will be here. And then bus 2, 3, and so forth. This goes to the master, which skips all of these and goes straight to here. Sometimes, as you just saw, because of the way this graphic is laid out, if you were to click in between here, it actually shows the entire parameter. So if you're wondering why it does that, if you hit right on the button, it doesn't. But if you get off in these spaces, it opens it up. So back to our signal flow. This channel uses Airwindows Cstrip. It has a high and low pass filter. It has a 3-band EQ and a compressor. The EQ is a little bit unique in that the high frequency selection and the low frequency selection determines what's happening on the mids. So for example, if this frequency was set to, say, 1K, and then your low frequency was set to 200, your mid band would represent the frequencies in between 200 and 1K. So you could boost or cut that range. Okay. I elected not to put the values on these knobs for space, number 1, and number 2, I think it's better in this application to use your ears. I've said that before in some of the other videos dealing with this mixer. It's been my experience that, especially with hardware and mixing consoles, you don't stand over it and look straight down to see what frequency you're at. You're using your ears. This is the same concept. Same thing with the labels. I put these here mainly for you guys. G is for gain, F is for frequency. The mid doesn't have a frequency, just explain that. High, mid, low. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there because I know what they are, just like on a mixing console. The trim here is not actually a trim as you would think of like an input gain stage. I named it trim because it increases the volume. What it is actually the output stage of the Airwindows Cstrip. So that feeds into another amplifier that gives you your fader. I put that there. This is an addition that I put on since my last post where I shared the preset with you guys. I added this because I wasn't getting enough gain on some things, so with this all the way up, I still wasn't getting enough signal coming in, so I needed a way to control that. This helps. Obviously, it would be nice to have it on the input, but you'll see later where you can calibrate that. You can see where that is so that you know your input's okay based on the track on your DAW. So you know that's okay. And if you need more of it, that's a place you can get it. The saturation is based on the Airwindows channel 8. It's very tame. It's not going to get distorted. It's a very subtle distortion, or not distortion, saturation. And you have some choices on that behind the scenes. Moving down the board, get this out of the way. You have the compressor, basically two controls, more compression and the speed. The speed is set up kind of like the 1176. I've found that the more to the right, the faster it is. Some 1176 is that way. Other ones are the opposite. They're faster to the left, so just be aware that that's set up that way. I'm not sure if this is also included in the Airwindows Cstrip, and I'm not sure if it's based on the butter comp or the pressure. Either way, it's a very usable, very nice sounding track compressor. I have found no reason to use anything else on a track. So the time lag is really cool. I really like this function. It's also included in the Cstrip, and it just delays the track by a little bit. Sometimes, in my case, for example, I'm a bass player. My bass tracks may be a little bit rushed sometimes because I'm recording in the box and it's through headphones, and maybe even some of the latency is playing with me a little bit. So my playing may be a little bit ahead of the beat, and for the track it might be better to fall just a little bit behind the beat. This is a great place to do it. This is not a delay that you're going to really be able to hear as far as bat, bat. This is very quick, but very useful. I like it. These 6 knobs are your auxiliary sends, as I've mentioned in some of my development on this. I kept this section the same. They send over to these effects, and I have used Space Modular by Valhalla. This is Reverb by Airwindows, Tape Delay 2 by Airwindows, another version or another copy of Tape Delay 2. This is the Bright Ambience, which is real useful. I think it's actually become my go-to ambience after putting this together. And this is the Airwindows Matrix Verb. I haven't quite got used to it, but it seems very usable. I kept this console all Airwindows so that it's something folks can get both on Windows as well as Macintosh. So all of these should load up fine. You're going to have to go to Airwindows to get them. And in the description below, I have a list of what I've used as well as where to get them. And Chris has got it set up now to where you can actually download all of them at one time, which is great. You don't have to go searching for them. And then just when you load in your Mux preset, point them to where your Airwindows stuff is, and it'll load it right up. I included a Baxandall EQ on this reverb as well as the Ambience. It's defeatable here, as well as the rest of them are, defeatable, as well as the whole chain if you want. Those are something I added in this last rendition of this. But this is just to give you a little bit more control over the tone of your reverb. Okay? So the top auxiliary send, number 1, 2, down to 6. Again, I didn't label those because once you set up a certain way of doing things, you don't need a label. And for my case, my delays are in the middle. My ambience is my first reverb. Bottom is my main reverb. I've got an auxiliary reverb, if you will, for other things. And then some type of a multi-effect, or it could be anything. Obviously, you can interchange all of this stuff. But so I know what that is just by looking at it. There's no need to label it, not even for the number. Top one's 1, bottom one's 6. Down here at the bottom is your pan. I really do wish that when I double clicked on that it would zero out, but it doesn't. But it wouldn't on a regular console either, so you'd have to find it. Somewhere in there, I've kind of lined it up right under these last group of numbers, and it seems to be somewhere close. The only thing so far that I have found on this that I really miss and really am trying to figure out how to do, and we'll add in the future if I figure it out, is a solo button. I've got a workaround which I'll show you guys, but I really wish I had some way to solo a track, and I'll get it figured out. This mutes the track when it's on its mute. Okay. In my previous renditions, these were mutes. They're not mutes anymore. This is actually where it's going. That way it's not quite so in your face, glowing all the time. Another feature I've added on this board or this console are inserts on every channel, every bus. You have an insert point. That way you can use your favorite effect anywhere in this, and you get 6 of them. And this will be pre or post fader for this. This is set up, I believe, let me double check. The insert point is set up, in between the saturation and the channel strip itself. So it's before the EQ. If you want it in a different place, obviously you can move it around. That's where I've got it located. While we're here, some changes to note. Obviously this insert, I changed these to sends. That's how I was able to get that, keep that light off and turn it on when I needed it. So all of these have been changed to sends. I don't think anything else has changed here. For those of you guys who have not seen the other video, one thing that you don't see on the board that is included here is the console emulation from Airwindows, and I am using channel 4, the console channel 4, and then it sends over to, all of them sends over to the console bus 5. No, this is console 5. I'm sorry. It's because I'm looking at that 4 of the 64. No, it's console 5 channel. Thought that was weird. Going over to console 5 bus. Okay. Another thing I've added on this that wasn't on the other ones, you can see the inserts here on the buses, was I put the console on the buses themselves also. The inserts here are located post the Buscolors by Airwindows, which is a more of an in-your-face saturation. It's got an input and an output. You can select between the different modes, desk, lush, rock, vibe. They all have just a little bit different color. And it's defeatable here. The master bus section has the Adclip limiter as well as its own insert if you want to use it. And on and off too. A very decent limiter, by the way. The multi-effects section also has its inserts. I put these here so that if you just wanted to do something quick, or you wanted, you didn't want to use Space Modular, you wanted to use something else, rather than having to rewire and do a whole bunch of things, you can turn that off, open that up. You can add whatever you want in here, and then back on your board, it is Effects Sim 1. So when I went through this mix, I found that to be useful for me, and I thought it would be for you guys also. So I think that's pretty much everything in a nutshell. I don't think I'm missing anything. Okay, again, this has 12 channels, but with 8 buses and 6 auxiliaries. To do this on a regular console, you're getting up into the 20s pretty quick. Something I also made that I'll be including in this preset folder, which will be down in the description, is a separate drum mixer. There's some things I like to do to drums, and it just, not only for ease of use, but it works better for me. I think it will for you guys also, rather than adding 20 channels to the other one. This makes sense to me. So it's basically the same thing, except now we only have 4 auxiliary sends and no bus sends, really. So you don't have the lights up here to send it anywhere, because it goes to its own bus, and that's located here. And here it has all of the auxiliary effects from the aux sends and its master bus here. And on this I've included the Airwindows Pyewacket, Airwindows Drum Slam, again the Valhalla space modulation, and a matrix reverb, mainly for the snare on drums. Could probably do ambience there too somewhere. May in the future, or if you guys want, I'll probably leave it the way it is. You could add one. You've got the space. You got the space over on the board. You can add a few more if you want. So with this, I'm running my drums into it and then running from here over to channel 1 on my mixer. I could run it straight over to the bus, but I like to have it on the mixer, therefore I feel like it's integrated into the rest of my tracks. So that is the system in a nutshell. So let's move on to some audio examples. Here I have a song in 2 ways. This way here is the way I finished mixing it up last week before I built a mix using the Mutools console, which I'm calling the root beer console now, just because I kept typing in AW console to save it, and it just reminded me of the A&W root beer. So I did the colors to match it, and That's what it's going to be known as. The ones with the Airwindows plugins. I have been working on another one, not to distract myself. This is where it kind of started. And this uses the gem equalizer by Overlab, which I really like also. And the compressor on this is Klanghelm DCA13, I think. Just a two-knob compressor. I haven't, there it is. That guy. And then the EQ is this. So this is kind of something I was doing before the other Airwindows came together. Some of the things I had going on here were the, this is an input. It's not stereo left and right. It's actually the input coming into the track. I found it to be useless, so I did away with it. And then, of course, I need to put in the inserts and do all the auxiliaries and stuff that I came up with later. But just to show you that you can do anything you want with this. As long as, and here's key, there's a lot going on in these channel strips, so you can't use a lot of plugins that take a lot of power. They have to be efficient. The Airwindows stuff is extremely efficient. Klanghelm stuff is reasonable. The gem EQ is like 0.1, or something like the SSL from Waves is almost nothing. Those things are great. If you get into EQs that are taking up 1%, that might become a problem on a dual core. For those of you out there running 8 and 20 cores, this is not even a concern for you. But for me it is. So back to the mix. This mix was the one that I finished up, and I used on my typical workflow. Go see. This is Reaper, my version of it anyway, or a modified theme, modified analog theme. And the workflow is pretty decent. You know, collapsible. That's the drum bus. It collapses down, and I can collapse all these down to where it's. This is the way I've been operating for years now. I really liked the mix bus. I started using mix bus, the Harrison mix bus stuff, back in 2010, and I loved it. And I have been longing for something that operated like that since then. I still like Harrison mix bus. I just can't see it. There's too many things on the screen, and I'm on a laptop, so it's useless. I really like the way it sounds. I think it's a great platform. I just can't see it. The Mix Hub stuff from Waves looks interesting, but I haven't got there yet. So, typical things. Oh, that's right. You guys can't see this. I learned that from the last video. When I highlight these, my my video capture software doesn't show the tips, the tool tips. So typical things like, you know, this type stuff. All kinds of stuff was going on here. Only used part of it. But the normal stuff that's out there. Drum bus. I really like the Chow tape model. Didn't use it on this mix. My reverbs, I used, Valhalla with some filters. Right now I'm going to stick with the Airwindows reverb on that console just to get used to it. I struggled a little bit with it on this last mix because I just don't know it well. Another thing I have on this particular mix is a lot of parallel compression stuff where some of the mixes sent over to 3 different parallel comps. So anyway, that's how that's set up. Go back to this and I'll let you hear this. This is without my master. I turned the master off, so normally I would mix into my limiters and whatever and do my master almost as I'm mixing. But for this example, I've turned it off so you can hear it. I'm going to play a little bit of a verse and some chorus.
No one gets out alive. The only bet they're gonna regret is that the best just didn't arrive. You see, you don't want no more sorrow. I'm only giving you tomorrow. But you gotta come with me. You've got to come. You gotta come with me. You've got to come.
Now real quickly, I'm just going to jump over and play that same passage using the root beer console.
No one gets out alive. The only bet they're gonna regret is that the best just didn't arrive. You see, you don't want no more sorrow. I'm only giving you tomorrow. But you gotta come with me. You've got to come. You gotta come with me. You've got to come. You gotta come.
I'm going to go back to the other one.
No one gets out alive. The only bet they're gonna regret is that the best just didn't arrive. You see, you don't want no more sorrow. I'm only giving you tomorrow. But you gotta come with me. You've got to come. You gotta come with me. You've got to come. You gotta come.
Back to the root beer.
No one gets out alive. The only bet they're gonna regret is that the best just didn't arrive. You see, you don't want no more sorrow. I'm only giving you tomorrow. But you gotta come with me. You've got to come. You gotta come with me. You've got to come. You gotta come.
Okay. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I use headphones to mix everything. I'm completely in the box as far as that goes. But the Airwindows console, the root beer console, sounds much more open and much more defined to me. And I literally spent 30 minutes once I got it all routed up, just quickly kind of twisting some EQ knobs and sending reverb, and literally almost no time at all just to put it together for this video. And now I'm questioning, my original mix. My original mix sounds dull and like it's under a pillow. I really struggled with the bass on that mix. When I say the bass, the tone of the bass itself, as well as trying to get it to blend with the whole bottom end. And I don't have any of that issue with the Airwindows console. Now, it could be due to the parallel compression that I have going on. It could be building up that low end. So anyway, the mix seems much more transparent to me from the root beer console. But that's kind of a head-to-head comparison. I'll twist some knobs for you here as well, so you can kind of get a feel for the EQ and the saturation. But before I get to that, I want to discuss a little bit of this routing. As you can see, I've only got 2 effects. The effects on Reaper would be lit up by the yellow. Okay, this is the drum mixer we talked about earlier. It's on my drum submix. This is the main mixer. And this is just addictive drums, playing with drums. So those 3 things. I didn't bounce it down. I just left it. Sometimes I bounce it, sometimes I don't. I send them all the individual drums to their own tracks. So let's take a look at the routing here. This is the drum bus going over to the main mixer. The drums come in starting at 3. 3 and 4 go to input 1 here. So whatever's coming in on 3 and 4, which in this case is the kick drum. And then all the way out through, through the mixer. Now I'm sending the outputs from the drum mixer out on 15 and 16. The reason I'm doing that is because 15 and 16 are higher than the tracks I used on the full mixer. And I'll explain that here in just a second. What I found was if I used anything up here, it conflicted because of Reaper's internal wiring. All of a sudden started putting some of the information on those tracks. So the tracks you use for the output of your drum mixer need to be something that your main mixer is not using. Hopefully that makes better sense. That's why I don't use 1 and 2 here, because by default Reaper sends 1 and 2 to the master bus of Reaper itself, which creates problems. Here, of course, I've labeled my individual tracks, which you can do once you get it going. And then over on the main mixer, again, label my tracks, some colors that I typically use. You can see same thing here. I kept it away from 1 and 2 as far as my inputs. But my outputs of my main mixer, I did send on 1 and 2 because that's where I want it to go. It's going to, I could put that anywhere, but since this is my final chain, it's okay to be on 1 and 2 for Reaper. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so now let's isolate some things. Again, this is the solo situation. I found that my workaround for my solo situation is we have to leave our mixing board and go out to our project, and you can solo the individual tracks, and that works. So, for example, that's the bass. But the idea, for me is to not have to back and forth with the Windows thing, open and closing Windows. With the other mix, let me go, while I'm talking about that, let me go back here. With this style of mix or this workflow, to see something, to do anything, I mean, yeah, I've got access to my faders, but everything else I've got to open a window, and chances are it's not where you want it to be, so you've got to move it around, close it. If I want to open up something else on that channel, I've got to open it up, and then there's another window, and this is what I'm trying to avoid. So I'm going to fix this solo thing. I'm going to figure it out one way or another. So anyway, back to our mix here. Let's say I want to solo the bass. It's soloed. And now we can play. First off, the saturation. Very subtle. The trim, big help. The high pass. EQ mids. And here on this particular track, you can see that the mids were all I was really concerned with. So I left the gain on the high and low and then set my frequencies for the low and high, not for the low and high frequencies, but to determine what my mid was. Kind of unorthodox, but really useful actually, especially for a limited amount of controls. So let's get that playing again. And go over to the bus. Now if you really want to push that Buscolors, you would turn that output down and then some of the different flavors. So let's go check out the highs on the drum bus. That's another thing you can do here. You can take let's do it this way. We'll stick it on that side and then open my drum bus. And this is the way I really envisioned this when I put this together. This is what I envisioned happening. I envisioned having my drum bus here where I can get to what I need. My main mixer here where I get to what I need. If I need to get to my buses, there's the main bus, there's the drum bus, auxiliaries, and I don't have to open and close windows. I don't have to drag them around. They're right there. Everything I need, my entire mix is right there. Every control I need. Anyway, I'm really excited about this. I can't wait to really get comfortable. This last test project to put this video together was just amazing to me. So what I want to do here, I want to mute, dragging windows around again. I want to get these overheads. That's what I want to hear. Now what I got, where's my drums? There's my drums. So let's play this. Now, I don't know if I can touch my space bar. That might cut off my image capture in here. I wanted to do this to check out the highs. Low pass. Uh-oh. See, I fixed this on the version that I've posted. I keep finding these little things, but that one's not there. I'll fix that. So I'm not even sure which control I'm operating there. How about that? But it gives you some idea of the high. It's not cramped. It's a very... Again, I've got some EQs that I like and have become accustomed to. I really like the SSL stuff. Dead Duck Audio makes a free version of something that sounds almost spot on to Waves SSL. But I'm going to give this Airwindows EQ a chance. I think it's really usable. Oh no, I don't want to make this video too long. What we can do here, we can kind of play around a little bit with the reverbs, so you can have an idea what the Airwindows reverbs are sounding like. I did end up using on this, even the test mix, I think I used a compressor here on the vocals. Just, I wasn't getting everything I needed out of this one, so I added one there. But again, I'm not chasing windows. I got it 2 clicks. It's there. I can close it and get it out.
Noah gets out alive. The only bet they're gonna regret is that the best just didn't arrive.
That's not what I want. I want
No more sorrow. I'm only giving you tomorrow. But you gotta come to me. You've got to come. You gotta come to me. You've got to.
Maybe better to, let's see, we'll solo the guitars and play with the reverbs. This is the ambience. So there's not really a whole lot there, which you don't want it to be. See what we're sending. This is our send for the and then the space modulator. To put that thing does some crazy stuff. I like to use it on drums, and it does all kinds of stuff. So that's it for that. Hopefully it's been a pretty thorough demonstration. I don't see myself making too many changes to this rendition of this, other than to find a way to solo each track. Once I figure that out, I'll revisit this particular design. I played around, like I've showed you, with some other EQs and other things, but this console really sounds good to me. And it's just a matter of me learning a little bit more about the EQ on it and the compressor, the channel compressor, but I don't use a whole lot to begin with, so looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully it hasn't been too long, and it has been reasonably informative. A couple of folks have been asking for audio examples, which makes sense. I just hadn't had a chance to get it all together yet, but I will upload the new version. I think I've got all the bugs and little idiosyncrasies fixed on it. If not, let me know and I'll fix it and get something uploaded. Other than that, hope you guys have a great day, great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.